Have you seen Star Wars?
Well, it's finally here. The Star Wars fandom begins a new series with the Book of Boba Fett. The first episode is called Stranger in a Strange Land, and today we're going to review the episode. So if you haven't watched the episode yet, there may be spoilers you want to avoid in today's video. But before we begin today's review, leave a like on the video to help me defeat the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to my channel for future Book of Boba Fett reviews. So I can't say I'm blown away or really impressed with this first episode to the series. This episode really tries to set up two things in a 35-minute window. It shows us Boba's past and how he got to where he was in The Mandalorian, and it also shows him going around Mos Espa in order to establish himself as the new crime lord of the area and of the planet. Both of these plots will, of course, continue to play out over the course of the first season. When it comes to the flashbacks, this show gives us the story behind Boba's escape from the Sarlacc pit. It's one of the first things they do, and it's funny because we fans have always wondered how he got out and how he survived, but I know if any of us really thought about it, the answer wouldn't be all that exciting, and the story shows us just that. He climbs out of the Sarlacc pit, and it must have been pretty traumatizing to be in there, but the flashbacks are really focused on Boba and the Tusken Raiders. It seems like these flashbacks may end up being a recurring storytelling element of the show, which I can't say I'm all that invested in. Sometimes it's okay to leave things to a mystery, and I don't really need to see Boba survive a few years in the desert, because so far the flashbacks are just filling in some time gaps, which is fine, but it doesn't really satisfy the storytelling for me. What's more interesting is Boba dealing with his new title of Crime Lord, and trying to get respect to the people of Mos Espa as well as the people with influence. And the biggest breadcrumb trail that we have to a plot is, of course, the mayor of Mos Espa. That entire interaction about the mayor is setting a potential villain, or maybe even a unique ally down the road, but it's the one thing out of this entire episode that caught my attention. Mostly because the mayor, instead of giving tribute to the new crime lord, demanded tribute to himself, and that's bold as hell, so I can't wait to meet this mayor character. But truth be told, not much caught my attention in this episode. It was a very slow and pretty boring burn of an episode. Boba walking around the desert, killing some things, walking around the desert, digging for things, then sleeping in the desert, it's not that exciting, and this show confirms what the movies have tried to teach us for years, which is living in the desert sucks, and you don't want to live in a desert planet called Tatooine. I think what would be a cool way for the story to go on with the Tusken Raiders is that we learn that Boba has a unique connection with them after living with them for so many years, because it seems like they're teasing that a little bit in this episode, that Boba survived up into the Mandalorian timeline by living with the Sand People. But it would be cool to see Boba use this history to get Tusken Raiders to ally with him. I mean, imagine how much power he would have on Tatooine. You're the new crime lord of the planet, the Tusken Raiders are your allies, and you have a master assassin at your side named Fennec Shand. Boba would be building a new and improved crime syndicate that would be cool to see if he brings in the Tusken Raiders, because then all of Tatooine is his, from the spaceports to the Dune Sea. Everything is under people that work for him. And this would make Boba a really good ally for someone like Din Djarin. If Din's really trying to reconnect with Boba in order to take over Mandalore, he could say something in order to get Boba on board, and that would be a good ally to have to take over Mandalore. All those crime lords, possibly the Tusken Raiders themselves, may have a unique way to do things. The first episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it was written by Jon Favreau, which kind of surprised me because a lot of the episodes that Jon wrote for The Mandalorian really kept me engaged throughout the episode. There are a few duds that he's written that I don't like, but for the most part, Jon impresses me, so I was surprised that this episode wasn't my cup of tea. And I don't think this episode being slow or kind of boring is a bad thing. In my opinion, the first episode was a recap of Boba Fett. We got to see his past and how he escaped the Sarlacc pit, and now we have a solid understanding of what to expect in the next show in terms of the setting. So I think this was an episode that won't really age well. I'm not going to enjoy it for years to come, but I've watched it twice, and I see no real reason to rewatch it going further, and it doesn't excite me for all the next episodes in the series or anything like that. It's kind of a dud for me. It's a little bit of a mid episode, if you will, and by mid I mean it's not bad, it's not good, it's just mid. I'm not sure if this show will get the attention a Star Wars show really deserves with a slow show opener like today's episode, but we'll have to wait and see. I've seen some people say that you don't need a big cameo or big reveal for a show or an episode to be good, and they're absolutely right, but I'm still needing something to go on in order to be interested in the show, and so far I'm not really interested in the show at all. Like I said, this episode felt like a glorified recap of Boba Fett, and I still feel like there's so much more they have to show us that they haven't, and that's completely fine, but I want to feel like there's something at stake, and right now, I don't really have anything. This hasn't caught my attention. So maybe the story hasn't begun yet, and hopefully next week's episode will kick that story into gear. So for my rating for Stranger in Strangeland, which is a weird title as well, I give this a 4 out of 10. It's just a slow and boring start to a show that did little to give me something to think about or look forward to for next week. The sets are really nice, and the acting of both Boba and Fennec Shand are both really good, but I want more of them doing the day-to-day of being crime lords instead of spending half the episode on flashbacks. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think about the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett? What would you rate it out of a 10? Do you think this is a good start to the show, and will you be tuning in for next week, episode 2? And also, big shout out to my boy Max making a cameo, and DJ Rex, both of them having that cool moment at that kind of like cantina scene thing again. That was my highlight of the entire episode because of the interactions that Boba had with the Twi'leks, and also the interactions that he had with Fennec Shand. That stuff I liked, but the rest of the episode, not so much. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like to support the channel, and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest news in Star Wars. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.